Hello, you're listening to the Eric McKenna Project. Are you ready?
All right, then. Welcome to the Eric McKenna Project. My special guest today, and also a friend of mine. This is going to be a good one. Abbondanza. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, let me get that mic just a little bit lower. Just making sure we got them. You don't have to eat it, of course.
How's that?
I'm telling Abby how to use a microphone, right? There's a ridiculousness to that. Thank you. Thanks for doing the show. This means a lot to me.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, this means a lot to me. And full disclosure, I had the opportunity this past week at a local tavern to watch the Hillbilly Way for the first time in a long time. And I will say, no pandering involved. This show blew me away.
Oh, thank you.
I have to tell you.
Thank you.
And on top of the music, which I expected to be great, the sound was amazing. So kudos to the sound guy. But what I want to mention right here on the air was the stage show was just, it was awesome. I can't even explain it. You just got to go see it if you're local here in Southwestern PA. The Hillbilly Way, my highest recommendation. You got to go check them out. But
Thank you.
The stage, though, is that new for you guys? Lots of lights, friend. Lots of lights.
We've had them. We've had the lights. So the lights going back. 2016 is when we decided to do lights. We knew we had to upscale because people just don't want to come hear music anymore.
Mm-hmm. They want to show.
They want to show.
Right.
They want to be entertained with their eyes. And honestly, I'm going to say it's not about the music anymore. It really isn't.
Yeah.
It's about how you look. It's about how
we'll talk about
what's going on.
That's a pet peeve of mine.
Yeah, what's going on with the stage? There's only a few guys that can stand up there and sing at a microphone and get away with it. Mm-hmm. I'm not one of them.
That's a damn shame.
And I have trouble standing still anyway, so that works out. It works out for good. But going back to the lights,
yeah,
that was a process in itself.
Well, they got a vintage vibe to it.
They do. So what they, for those of you who've never seen them before, they look like two big amplifier stacks. Okay, which we're in the process of painting them black right now. So they're all going to be black. They're going to have new covers. They're going to look like two big just amplifier walls.
Right.
But inside those amplifier walls, each section of them, it looks like four on each side. It looks like four amplifiers stacked on top of each other. Each one has 25 LEDs in it, which they're called Q-Picks.
Okay.
So those are all programmed through the drummer to each song, to each beat. We spent a week in Nashville just programming these songs.
Right.
I think they did, and kudos to Keith, our drummer, because I was like, I'm out of here. I'll see you.
That takes a lot of patience.
Yeah, because I couldn't sit there and why they programmed each light to do this and do that. He loves that stuff. That's where he's good at that, and I'm not.
Yeah, I get it.
I went off and wrote somewhere, and so I think we spent, it was 4.5 days. He worked with the lighting director, setting it up through Ableton, that when he hits the click to start the song, the lights come on with the show starts with the click.
It works.
Yeah.
And it was it was funny. We were in a decent size establishment, but it gave the stage a bigger feel.
It does. It gives it a bigger feel, and it brightens the room. Mm-hmm. But we spent. You would ask about like monetary. We spent probably about $25,000 total.
I believe it
on getting that programmed and getting them, buying them.
Right.
The boxes, believe it or not, have been handed down to us from Thompson Square to Palmerley to us.
Wow.
Because we were on the same management as those two. And,
right.
Management just said, you know what, we've got our mileage out of these. You can have them. So you
repurposed them. It's
repurposed them.
Yeah. Big word now.
So they did the same thing with the lights, but we actually went in and had them welded in, and to make them more roadworthy, because you just beat them inside, taking them in and out of the trailer, and some of them right now need fixed. They need a little TLC, because what happens is the lights go a different color.
Okay.
Like when they're just in standstill mode.
Yeah.
But nobody knows that.
Yeah, you wouldn't have told. It was. I was sitting there actually with our mutual friend Danger from Froggy Radio at the show, and He looked at me and he's like, "That's all right." And I said, "Yeah." I said that. I'm over yelling, of course, because it was like in our face. But I was all smiles at a point. I know you saw me smiling over there from the time I got there to the time I left. I was very impressed. But
thank you
again. The Hillbilly Way, THW.
Yeah. So we
is it officially changed now?
It's officially changed.
Cool.
The only reason why is people weren't seem to gap in that bridge of. And I don't know if it was because of the word hillbilly. And I'm not just talking about Pittsburgh. I'm talking nationwide.
Sure.
Because we have released a couple songs now nationally. Mm-hmm. As soon as we went to THW, it was like something clicked.
Right.
And, it doesn't sound great to say THW, but it doesn't. But we did it with Povertyneck too, with PNH.
Right.
Right. That was a decision I made to put on merch just because Povertyneck Hillbillies was hard to fit on there. So I shortened it. Now, the first draft was a star. On a girl's shirt,
right,
like a faded vintage star, and it said PH in the middle.
Huh.
We sold probably about
simplicity
3,000 of those tank tops.
Right. So
I just said to the guys, I said, I think we should just shorten it, and just a THW. People text everything abbreviate. Everybody loves abbreviating, so that's my philosophy behind it. And the odd thing is people are still not bridging that gap. and Froggy and other radio stations have done a great job of, Danger especially, saying, hey, Povertyneck Hillbillies now,
the connection, trying to find the
today's world, because music has changed so much from 2007 to now.
How about 2000 to now?
Yeah.
You've seen it all.
Yeah, but I've seen it just from, Povertyneck was done in 2008 of January.
Yeah.
From there to now, just one end of the spectrum to the other.
We're going to get into that too, and then we'll talk about social media influences, short attention span, all that good stuff.
Let's start with something and work on. Let's go back to
let's do that. Let's talk about probably what a lot of your fans and people that have watched you all these years have not heard. How did it all start for you? Did you have this love for music when you were young? Did you grasp it maybe as a teenager?
No.
What kind of got you in that direction?
Here's how it started. So I never touched an instrument, never sang a note until I was 27.
Okay.
I grew up playing sports. I grew up in a small town called Norvelt, PA, which is up by the Westmoreland County Fairgrounds. I grew up hunting and fishing, playing sports. I got a full ride Penn State for baseball, played a year, hurt my arm in a free agent camp for the Pirates, actually, and that was the end of my career. So going forward to, I don't even know the date it would be, but I was 26, 27. Now, I'm only 31 now, but... So it was just a few years ago.
Sure he is.
No, I'm not afraid of my age. I'm 47 now.
Nothing wrong with that, man. I got a couple years on you.
And so jumping forward to 27, I know it's going to sound odd, but this is how it happened. My buddies and I were out drinking one night, and we were drunk. And
a lot of stories start out with that phrase,
I'm just going to be straight. I mean, there's no filter on this, right?
No filter, buddy.
So
completely no filter.
They were jagoffs. So what they did, they put my name in this. They were having a karaoke contest at the bar we at, and they put my name in. And I never sang a note, so they didn't think I sang. They did it to be idiots. So they called my name, and I'm looking around, and they're all laughing, snickering. And I said, "All right, I'm just going to go up and do it."
Now wait a second. Had you sung in the shower when you're driving around?
Yeah, I mean everybody does, but
okay, but nothing. You weren't concentrating on it.
No,
okay.
I never thought that. I think I had a brief stint when I was 12, 13 where I wanted a guitar. I had a guitar. I never had it tuned. I never had. I loved just plugging in electric, and my cousin gave it to me, and I plugged it in electric and making loud noise.
Right.
That's it. That was the extent of that. That lasted about 2 weeks. But so I went up and sang Friends of Low Places.
Really?
And I won $500.
How about that?
So I didn't get now I had to buy rounds of drinks because they discovered all this talent.
I can imagine. Sure, naturally.
Yeah,
naturally.
they discovered all this talent, so I had to buy the drinks now because I won $500, and I wouldn't have won it if it wasn't for them, they said.
Of course.
So that's how that started, and then we get this bright idea, well, let's go do this a couple other places. So went and did it at another bar. Like 2 weeks later, I won that. It was like $250, and I would say in probably like a 4-month period, I won $2,000.
Okay, that's pretty good.
And
for just starting.
So
you're making the route, you're making the circuit, buddy.
Still at this point, I had no
inclination or something.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I was doing it because it was money driven.
Yeah, it was probably fun.
Yeah, it was fun. So I'm trying to think of a time lapse here, how it went. Something came up in Pittsburgh, and someone told me about it. One of the DJs that did the karaoke said, "Hey, Pioneer is having a contest in Pittsburgh, and they're having it all over the U.S. And then you get picked from each state picks, I think, like 4 or 6 or something like that, or 10. I think it was 10 from each state. Then you go to a regional at the state, which was held in Pittsburgh at the Green Tree, right up from the DVD building. There's a hotel on the top. That's where it was held.
Yeah.
So I made it to the top 10 in the state for this Pioneer. I sang "Don't Take the Girl" by Tim McGraw.
Okay.
And
so country music was your thing. Would you choose to?
Yeah. I mean, I liked country music. Yeah. And so going down there, I made it to it was the top 20, and then they cut it down to 10.
Okay.
And then I made it to the top 10. I lost in that, but that's when it started. And I'm watching these people sing. I'm like, holy shit! These people can actually sing. There's these girls that belting these big Whitney Houston songs out. And I'm up there singing Tim McGraw, "Don't Take the Girl." And for those of you who don't remember Tim McGraw, "Don't Take the Girl," it's long, drawn out, and it's a long song.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a Johnny's daddy's taking him fishing. And so I think there was me and 2 other people that were country, and they were girls. So they didn't really sing country. They sang pop.
Right.
At the time, what was pop country?
Yeah.
And then I'm singing. I had a hat on. I had a cowboy hat on.
More traditional.
Yeah. So I didn't advance through that because you went from there, and then you went to I think it was Chicago was the next round, and then eventually ended up in Vegas. That's where the finals were. But I think that was a turning point where I said, okay, maybe I should try something. So I started doing karaoke on my own. I never played an instrument at this time, so I bought.
It's late 90s we're talking now?
Yes.
Mid 90s? Okay.
Yeah, late 90s. So I bought tracks. You could buy them on cassette or CD. Yeah, some of them were on cassette, some were on CD at that time. Right. That's when the transition was starting with the CDs.
Right.
So I would buy the tracks, and I would basically go put on a karaoke show minus a band.
Right.
Right. So I had a Garth headset, I had a hat on, I had this whole thing, but I was making money.
Yeah.
I was making $250 a night.
I bet.
And pushing a button and and it got tiresome after a while, like going back. I had to push. Finally, I got the idea, hey, why don't I put all these songs together, and then I don't have to keep on going pushing a button. After about a year's worth of doing that, but I was playing all over. I was playing in Blairsville. I was playing in Indiana. I was playing Uniontown. I mean,
yeah.
So then another karaoke contest came up at the Mount Pleasant Glass Festival, and that's where the finals were, at the Glass Festival. And then so there was like 6 bars participating. Then they picked the winner of each bar, and those 6 went and competed at the Glass Festival.
Okay.
So I won one of the bars, and then I come in second. I lost to another girl saying Whitney Houston. Whitney Houston seemed to be the trend back then.
And coming back to
and it was
haunt you.
always the same damn song too. I will always love Dolly Parton, #country.
Yeah.
But
coincidentally.
But I come in second. Well, there was this guy in the crowd, and he come up to me, and kind of looked a little bit bikerish, and he said, "Hey, I play in a band. We're looking for a lead singer." I was like, "Okay." And he goes, "Do you want to come down, just sing a couple of those, see if you like it and all that?" I said, "Yeah, I'll come down." So they were based out of Uniontown. His name was Kevin Motes.
Okay.
And so Kevin could play the hell out of the guitar. Very impressive. He's passed since, and 2 of the guys have passed since I played with. And Danny Kemp. And Danny was unbelievable.
Right.
They both were. And so I get on, and I jump in, and I think we play an Alan Jackson song, a Garth song, and something else, and everybody's looking around. I was like, that was pretty fucking cool.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the first time I had like a band behind me,
So that had to be a different experience.
It was.
Yeah.
It was.
Probably felt damn good too.
It did, but it was hard getting used to because there was a lot of noise going on around you, but I adapted very quick. And so then I said, well, I should start playing guitar. So I'm teaching myself to play guitar, which was the most horrible mistake in my life.
Kind of before YouTube and all that stuff, because the kids have it easy now.
Oh,
they have it
God,
so easy
yeah.
now, right?
Yeah.
They
I always
do.
tell my son, I said, if I had what you have for training in baseball today,
Oh yeah, he'd be in the major leagues.
I'd be sitting on a beach somewhere right now,
Hey,
retired.
pull that back a little bit from you. Just push it back a little bit. Yeah, you project so well. It's singer. You're a singer.
Yeah.
Good.
So I'm playing. The band was called the Loose Wheel Band.
Loose wheel.
Yeah,
The loose wheel.
Loose Wheel Band. So
Google that, friends.
it's you won't find it.
You never know. This is the interwebs.
Yeah. So they had all these jobs already established. We always played down Connellsville, Uniontown, Brownsville,
Right.
all that area.
Nice area.
And just playing all these little honky tonks, and I thought it was great. I was getting paid to go. I was making $150 a night.
Go sing.
Yeah, and so I picked up a guitar and doing it on my own at home and not knowing a damn thing about it. I'll never forget. It took me probably 6 months to learn how to go from a G to a C chord. And
It's that dexterity thing, and my friend.
and I have sausages, so it doesn't help. My hands are huge,
Me too.
and I didn't know there was a such thing called action on the guitar. How high that action.
Yeah, lower the strings makes it a little easier, eh?
For those that don't understand that means how high the strings are on the neck of the guitar.
Did you learn on an acoustic?
I did.
God bless you.
And you can see, well, that's why my fingers are completely flat.
I get it, man.
And
that's
so
the way to do it, though.
I'm
That's
not
the way
allowed to
do
touch
it.
an electric guitar in the band because I play extremely hard. And anything I touch electric goes out of tune like that.
Really? Okay. Okay.
I just don't have it. I'm so used to
Sure.
grabbing it
Yeah,
and
yeah.
pressing it,
Sure.
And so it took me a good year and a half before I could even sing and play, where I understood, okay, this is where I need to change the chord.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing about me, for people who do know me, I'm very competitive. So
I've heard.
that drove me to learn quickly. But I didn't start playing, even through the band and everything, I didn't start playing acoustic shows till 2007
Yeah.
on my own.
I went to a few of those.
Yeah, I mean, even, didn't feel comfortable, and then I finally realized, it was probably about 2009, I finally realized people aren't coming to see me play acoustic. You know, if they're coming, they want to hear me sing.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of figured that out, and I was like, okay, if I mess up, I mess up.
Right.
And just keep going. And nobody knows the difference.
A little epiphany here.
You know,
yeah, I mean,
except when Dave Hanner come out one day and said, I heard that flub you.
of course. Of course.
I was like, thanks, Dave. I appreciate it.
Of course.
And
he would.
Yeah. But no, I mean, it just...
That's a great story, though. That's so different than probably most musicians, right?
Yeah, because there's Junior, on the other hand, who's been playing since he was 11, 10, 11.
And by the way, for the record, you're going to help me get Junior here, right?
Yeah, we'll get Junior.
Yeah,
Jeff
I want this to be a regular occurrence for you.
Yeah.
We're gonna have some fun here. But so talk a little bit about is that, I'm guessing that whole experience ended up bridging you into Povertyneck, right?
Well, no, so there was
Somewhat?
a band or two in between there.
Okay.
So they started playing more like Allman Brothers stuff, and I wasn't there
you
yet.
didn't dig it yet? Oh, the singing part of it. Yeah,
I liked it, but I just didn't feel comfortable doing that. And to this day, I cannot hear the song Jessica and want to smash it over, smash it on the ground, you know, because they would just go on and on jamming. Yeah, it was like a 9-10 minute jam, and I would just literally put my acoustic down and go sit down. You know, I mean, what are you gonna do with that? You know, it's 2 chords. You know.
Yes, it is.
And so I then got the bright idea. Okay, I need to do this on my own, and you know, my real name's Chris.
Mm-hmm.
People don't.
No one calls you Chris.
No, nobody really calls me that. You know, a few people do, but it's just. So what am I going to go by? Chris Abbondanza? You know, that doesn't sound like a good stage name at all. You know, so when I joined, I'll just fast forward a little bit. So I had a couple bands there where you know, one was Hat Creek, and
Google it.
Yeah,
YouTube it.
Timmy Baker, who's a great guy, he taught me a lot. Tim plays steel, bass, guitar, and Tim was he was a big part of me moving on to, you know, he brought the steel into the band.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
And kind of modernized it for me. And then, but there was an older gentleman that was a huge influence on me, like throughout this whole time, and his name was Johnny Andrews. And Johnny back in the heyday, like back in Conway, Twitty days and all that. He toured with Conway. You know, he made his run in Nashville and everything. He used to play this place up by my house called it was called Country Crossroads, is what I know it as, but it was right across from the fairgrounds, and he'd pack that place. I mean,
really,
250 people a night, you know. And he was just an entertainer. It was just great to go watch, and I was probably one of the youngest guys in the crowd, you know. But he played all these
learned from him.
Learned from him just how he handled himself on stage, just how, you know, he made it fun for the people, you know. And it took me a long time to learn how to do that, you know, as an entertainer, as a singer.
Really.
But I'll never forget the day after Povertyneck, after we had our signing, and we did it at Froggy Radio, matter of fact.
I know.
We signed our record deal at Froggy Radio, and I ran into him at Walmart.
That's a
probably about
coincidence.
a week after that, and he come up and gave me a big hug. And at this time, he wasn't playing anymore.
Yeah.
And he said, he always called me the Garth Brooks of Westmoreland County. That's what he always called that. So when he brought me up on stage, to sing, it was always Friends of Low Places to dance or some Garth song. He loved Garth, but he didn't like doing it. It just wasn't his style, you know. And so he utilized me to do that. He said, "Hey, if you come to the shows, you know, I'll buy you drinks, and you just come up and do a couple songs."
Drinks for singing?
Yeah.
Who can turn that down, right?
Yeah, and that's how it started, and that was probably one of the most gratifying for me, because he was happy that
Sure.
You know, he told me, he goes, I always knew you were going to do something. You stood out from anybody that ever walked on that stage with me.
That's powerful.
And he said, I'm not surprised. He said, I knew you would do it. And so that, I think that was probably a big thing for me. When he passed away, probably about 5-6 years ago now. I'm sorry, no, probably 3 or 4 years ago. I did a tribute to him a year later, and a bunch of the guys used to play with him over the years, got them together, and
Wow.
and we just had a big jam up in that area where I grew up, and probably about 150 people turned out. It was awesome.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, it's an influence, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you always have those moments.
Yeah.
The fact that you can remember that moment of running into him.
Yep. And I went to school with his daughter too.
Okay.
She was a year or two ahead of me,
Okay.
and but yeah, it was.
So he's part of your story.
Yeah, I mean, he was a big influence on me, you know, throughout this whole thing. But now going to fast forward to, I was starting to do acoustic shows on my own around 2000, just here and there, not strictly just me acoustic, me and another or two guys.
But you actually willed yourself to play. I love that.
Yeah.
By the way, as not a teenager, you were like, you know, on your way in life, and you willed yourself to play the electric. Or, excuse me, you willed yourself to play the guitar. Period. But you did it through acoustic.
Right.
I have a similar story. It's not my show, but I get it.
Yeah.
Oh, I get it. And I started when I was 33.
Yeah. So it's
it's
hard.
People think I played guitar my whole life because I had the guitar thing. I did not.
Yeah. I can't play lead. I can't. You know, I'm a strummer, but we'll get down where
that's
it's helped me.
That's the essence of guitar, though, is rhythm.
Right. So all I want to be able to do is sit around a campfire and play at that point, you know.
You can do it.
And so going, the place was the Rowdy Buck. So a friend of mine, Jay McKnight, was supposed to play that night. Something happened. He couldn't play. He was sick. And he goes, my cousin's friend, who he plays in a band with, they're off. He goes, I don't know if you heard of them, Povertyneck Hillbillies. I was like, no, I haven't. He goes, well, they're out of Fayette County. He said, but I'm sure he could play. And he plays fiddle, he plays guitar and everything. So his cousin, Jay's cousin, was Les Filburn, who was the original singer of Povertyneck. And so he made a call, and Chris said, yeah, I can fill in. So go up to Rowdy Buck, and he goes, just tell me the key you're in, and we'll be fine. And if he didn't know it, he just jumped in afterwards, and he was fine. You know, he was talented enough where he could just do that. But so we took the first break, and Chris come up to me and he said, hey, you know, we're looking for a singer. And he goes, would you be interested in coming down and audition? I said, yeah, I'll come down. I didn't ask any. The only thing I heard about Povertyneck was through Jay.
Sure.
You know, and so I took my buddy. It was like a week later. He goes, we're playing at the Long Branch in Uniontown. He said, if you want to come down there, you can see the show and you can tell me if you're interested. Well, I get down. So at the time, Ryan Lukoch, Chris Higbee, and Dave Kramer were three original, you know, members of Povertyneck.
Sure.
So, and then they had Matt Yoders on bass, and they had another guy playing steel. And it wasn't Crafty; it was somebody else. And so I get out and see him. I get there, and stage is blacked out. I'm like, okay, it's real dark, and there's a lot of people there. You know, I was like, I took my buddy with me, Greg Leachok, and he's like, wow, a lot of young people here.
Decent draw.
Yeah. And I knew I had to find younger guys like my age or somewhere around my age, because you know, there wasn't a lot of country guys, you know, younger playing. Well, they start out with this big intro to Baton Rouge. So it goes into Baton Rouge, but with the keyboard is this big intro, smoke and lights, and I'm
very heavy.
Yeah. And then Chris comes out with the fiddle, you know, with the intro to Baton Rouge, and they go in it, and I look at my buddy and he goes, "This is what you need." So that night, that was a pretty important night, because that night Greg and I went to eat somewhere. It was Eden Park afterwards, and you know, I knew a lot of the songs they played already. So I mean, I probably knew half the set list already,
right?
You know, if not more. And so we're sitting in park. He goes, "What are you gonna do?" And I said, "I don't know." I said, I think, you know, I like it." He goes, "Look," he goes, "You know, we jack you around a lot, you know," and my buddies, they kept me honest, like very, very humble. Yeah,
that's good though, right?
But he said to me, he goes, "Look," he goes, "I'm on a serious note." He goes, "I really think you could do something with singing." He goes, and I'm not just saying it. He goes, "I know you haven't been doing it long." He goes, "But there's something there." And he goes, "I think this is your opportunity to do something with it. You know, you got a young bunch of guys." Now, Junior wasn't in the picture yet.
Right.
So neither was Jeff at the time.
Right.
So I went in November. They had probably 2 or 3 shows before. This is 2001. Before I went and played 3 shows with them with Les. We split time.
Okay.
So to get me
acclimated.
Yeah, acclimated. So I did go to a practice beforehand.
Just one.
Yeah. I mean, I knew most of the songs. Right. You know, all I got to know, the music's there. All I got to know is the words.
Right.
You know.
Right.
So Les and I split time for those 3 shows. Then New Year's Eve, I took over. That was my introduction to the band.
So
they announced
2002?
2002 New Year's
Eve.
Yeah. They announced that I was going to be the singer. So, and you know, Les had a good following, you know, so I think for the most part, everybody was happy with the, you know, because they had a following and,
no doubt,
you know, so I had to step into some,
well, sure. Big shoes.
Yeah, per se.
Established shoes.
Yeah, established shoes. And from there, it was probably about 8 months later, we were practicing in Kristen's basement, and I said, what does everybody want to do? Like
the vision for the band, right?
Yeah, and let me rewind a little bit.
Sure.
So probably about 5 months in, Jeff started showing up, and Ryan knew Jeff and his family because Ryan and Jeff played polkas growing up with their families.
Okay.
So Jeff played accordion. So Jeff would come up and sit in. He played accordion and bass. He'd sit in on a couple songs and play accordion.
Sure.
You know. So Matt decided he didn't want to do it anymore, and we asked Jeff to be the full-time bass player. And that's where that went. So Jeff was now the full-time bass player. So we're about 8 months in, and I said, what does everybody want to do? Like, I don't want to be just a cover band, you know. And they said, well, how do you suggest we do it? And, you know, at the time, I said, I want to play in Pittsburgh. You know, because at the time, that was,
yeah, you
know, that was far. You know,
sure.
That was, if you're playing in Pittsburgh and you're,
that's a reach.
Yeah, it's a reach. It's 50 miles. You know, 45 miles. And they said, well, how do you think we should do it? I said, well, I have a handful of songs that, you know, that I wrote. I started playing them. So that's where Fly came from.
Really?
That's where Hillbilly State of Mind.
Okay.
So I had already written Hillbilly State of Mind. For the most part, it was done. And I don't want to tell the rest of the story because it has to do with a little bit later part of how we tweaked it. But Fly was one of the biggest ones. Oh, Crazy Things.
Okay.
So Fly and Crazy Things were the two at the time. And then at the other time there was a guy out of Nashville that I knew somehow. This Love in My Heart, there was a song, and I asked him if we could record it, and he said yes. So we ended up recording that song too. So we did a 4-song,
like an EP.
Like an EP. It was
that was still a thing then, right? An EP?
Yeah. It was Fly. I believe it was Fly. It was Fly, Crazy Things, This Love in My Heart. There was one more too. I'm trying to think what it was. It's pretty bad, I don't know. But
It's a long time ago, pal.
so we started playing these songs out, especially Crazy Things, and it just took off. Like, people were like singing them in the next time they come out and see us, you know.
Right.
They were asking for them. They were, you know, that's when the light bulb went off, I think, you know, okay, maybe there's something, you know, something there. So we ended up recording them. That brings an introduction to Bob Corbin. So we're at the Long Branch. He's working with the Chandler Sisters at the time. They played at the Long Branch. We opened up for them. So we did our set, and I remember coming off stage, and I'd already seen Bob Corbin a few times. Corbin Hanner, you know.
Sure, yeah.
I was a fan.
They're legendary.
So he was in the back, and he's getting the girls ready. He's making sure everything's ready for them, and he comes over. He goes, "Hey," he goes, "good job up there." He said, "You know, we need to talk." I said, "Okay." I said, "What do you want to talk about?" Like, I'm thinking to myself, okay, why does Bob Corbin want to talk to me?
That's a good thing.
You know? And he asked to meet. So me, Dave, and Chris went and met with him. And that's when it kind of started this, you know, hey, let's get together. And, you know, I'm producing the Chandler Sisters. And let's start with this. That's where that came from.
You were going to catch the eye of someone. He was a good one to catch the eye of.
Yeah. I mean, so we started working together. Then that's where Hillbilly State of Mind. So I had, it was called Country State of Mind.
Okay.
And so we started fooling around Hillbilly State of Mind, and I had basically everything written already, because it was a true story about me. The song's about. Okay, let's just touch real quick on this. So the song Hillbilly State of Mind is about when I was growing up. My best friend was Scott Boydham. His grandpap owned a farm over in Mount Pleasant in Mount Joy, and we would go over and bale hay in the summer and pick corn. We worked for U-Shocks picking corn and selling corn and then baling hay at his farm. So every time we were done baling hay, and I was allergic to hay, so it was a nightmare for me. I was constantly sneezing, and but you know, did to get strong for playing football, and so every day we'd be back on the porch. He'd be arguing with his grandfather. You know, oh, we shouldn't have put it 8 high, because I don't know how many times we tipped over that damn cart. You know, with 8 high, and then you had to restack them all.
Right.
And
which isn't easy.
No, and they didn't have a baler that threw it up. I was the guy throwing it up to Scott, stacking it.
You were the baler.
Yeah. And so these were like 70, 80-pound bales, you know. But the things that stood out to me was, like, we'd be sitting on the porch afterwards, like, drinking pop, whatever, and his grandpa would be there sipping on Shine. And sitting in a chair and telling us, oh, you got... bitching, you know, how we had it made, and you know, we had to do this, we had to watch, you know, your typical old guy, you know.
Yeah. Older generation ragging on the younger.
Right. So that's where that all stemmed from. Like, right across the, right along the Mason-Dixon line, a little shack sitting back in the pines. There was an old man sipping on Shine.
Love that song.
You know, so that's where that all. I had written probably 95% of it done, because it was a story. Right. For me, you know. And so Bob came in and he goes, "What are we calling Hillbilly State of Mind?" I was like, I don't like it.
You did. The word hillbilly didn't resonate with you? Or
no,
what was
just
it?
because I thought it was cliche, because our name was Hillbillies.
Yeah.
You know, and what the hell did I know? You know what I mean? Here's a guy that has like a couple number one hits with Alabama, and I'm telling him I don't like it.
He's Bob Corbin.
Yeah. So end of story. We ended up changing it, and Chris came up with these hand motions, not planned or anything. He just started doing it along the corn grows tall, just like it should. Friday night, had a hillbilly ball, picking and singing, carrying. He's just doing it.
Right.
In summertime, in a pale light, me and my girl getting right, and he's shaking his ass, and then he's like, "Well, you gotta do it with me," and we get the crowd doing it, and boom, it like caught on, like
it worked,
and it was just crazy how the stupid hand motions going on. And if we don't do that song, there's so many people, they might not know the title, but they'll know, corn grows tall, they'll know the hand motions, they're doing them, they're mouthing them to me, I said, Hillbilly Say Mine, oh yeah, that's it, just, so that was a real turning point, that song kind of was like a little bit of a turning point for us. And then obviously Mr. Right Now came into play.
Mm-hmm. How did that come about?
So Bob and I, since had written Hillbilly Say Mine, Hillbilly Way. Born to Be Free was another one. I wrote that myself, but Born to Be Free was one I had originally pitched to the guys, but I wasn't done with it. I said, I just can't. I'm not happy with it. And I'll never forget, it was like 7 months after I started writing it. I'm sitting at the house, and this airline commercial comes on. Why go across why drive across the desert down a 2-lane road with the sun beating on you when you could fly and be there? And I think it was Southwest.
I remember that commercial.
And I'm like, going down that 2-lane road, stretched out across the desert with the hot sun beating down on me. I don't know where I'm going or when I'm going to get there. When I do, it'll set my mind at ease. I was born to be free. It was done. That was
inspiration comes from everywhere. Right?
Yeah, it's just crazy. So that's where I came from, and I went back and I said, guys, it's done. So now that song, I said, I want this to be rocking, like, that's kind of like Montgomery Gentry style,
A little more power.
Yeah, a little more power. Now it takes us into another part, which was a huge turning point for Povertyneck. We won the Pittsburgh Rock Challenge.
I remember.
So that song was a staple of us winning that because of that song, because it was country rock.
Yeah. That was the anomaly, was like you won a rock award.
Yes, we won a rock award.
In Pittsburgh.
Which the Pittsburgh Graffiti Rock Challenge is a pretty big deal.
It is a big deal.
And I don't know if they still have it.
That's what you wanted from I don't think anymore, but that's what you wanted from the beginning when you told them years ago,
right,
I want to play in Pittsburgh.
Right.
Right?
And that's what kind of like opened up. DVE started interviewing us. DVE was playing Born to Be Free, and I'm like,
slight crossover there.
Yeah. And, Bob produced that, and that's where that EP came, so then he, another year passed, we're growing and growing and growing, and this happened so fast, and now we're playing everywhere. We're playing Pittsburgh, we're playing in Cranberry, we're playing West Virginia.
And this is now your full-time thing, man.
No, not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Not yet.
Okay.
So I'm still working. Jeff's still working.
You might have been busy then.
Yeah, and Chris was teaching at the time. So,
okay.
Everybody was still working. Junior wasn't even in the picture yet.
Right.
So now, Bob's taking us to that next platform. So we cut another song, Wild Horses. And now it was a big vocal, our harmonies grew, and now we became a big vocal band. So Junior comes to the Red Star Tavern we were playing, and we used to put so many people in that place. It was crazy. They were outside.
Right.
The governor came to see us.
Right. I remember that too.
And the first time he came to see us, he hated us.
Junior did.
Yeah. He goes, I didn't like you guys at all. I thought you sucked.
Are you shitting me?
No, honest to God.
Oh, when he's here, we're gonna bring that up. Don't worry.
Oh, he'll tell you. He'll tell you flat. Listen, there's no punches pulled with him. So,
all right.
So he. Now, we didn't even talk to him at this time. Okay, I didn't even know who he was. Going back, we had played a job at Seven Springs. I was done early. I said, I stopped on the way home at the Rowdy Buck. And Dallas Marks Band was playing there. John Prendo was playing. I knew John. Mm-hmm. John Prendo was playing. And Junior was filling in, playing. And this guy's over there, he's playing this telly, and I'm like, pretty damn good.
Oh, yeah.
And
no doubt.
And then he breaks out into Who's Cheating Who with Alan Jackson. And there's that chicken picking, which, if you don't understand what that is, I mean, it's a talent to be able to do that. And and there's that, it's like grabbing 3 strings at one time and plucking them, and it's strumming at the same time.
And they move between flat. Those that can move between flat and simultaneously are amazing.
Yeah.
So the guy's talented.
He's playing, and I'm like, okay, that's the guy we need. Because Chris at that time was playing guitar, and he's not the greatest guitar player.
Right.
He could play acoustic well, but lead is just not a lead player. And he was playing lead, fiddle, mandolin, acoustic, everything. Yeah. I kept telling him, I said, we need to add a guy playing nothing but guitar. And Crafty was playing a little bit of guitar, but he was playing more steel. At that time we were 7-piece. So I'm sorry, we were 6-piece, and we added Junior.
Right.
So I approached Junior that night, and he didn't say anything to me that night that he hated us, But
how'd you find out?
He told us afterwards. So I said, hey, we're playing at the Red Star again. Okay, not knowing that he already seen us. I said, we're playing at the Red Star next week. Won't you come down? I said, I think you'd be a really good fit for the band. And he didn't let on he knew who we were. He heard the name, but he never saw us. He never let on he saw us. So we broke out Wild Horses that night for the first time. And that's what changed his mind.
The vocal quality.
He said something about that song. He said the big harmony. He said,
yeah.
And I'll let him tell when he comes in. But, I'm probably overblowing it up a little bit, but he just said that was a
turning point.
He knew something was there.
Yeah.
And that's when he decided to come play for us. But, yeah, I'm never forget at practice. He goes, yeah, I thought I got you guys sucked. And
he's a talent. He's a guitar talent, no question.
So, now we added Junior. Mm-hmm. Now, the image was starting to change a little bit. The Tim McGraw was becoming a major factor, and Kenny Chesney, with the hat. And I was already wearing a hat, but I changed my hat look to more like Tim McGraw style.
So you're recognizing that there was an optics involved with the music.
Yes.
Okay.
I lost 40 pounds, 45 pounds, something like that. I started wearing tight shirts, tight jeans, and we all talked about this as a band. I think this is the look we need to.
Right. We
start changing our look. Bob Corbin agreed. So then Mr. Right Now comes into play. So Bob goes, I got this song. He goes, I'm working on it. He goes, it's going to be a really big song for you guys. He goes, I said, well, do you want to write write the guy? And he goes, I think I'm going to take this one on my own. I was like, I never was like, son of a bitch. We just wrote like 6 songs together.
He's been in the business a long time.
Yeah, he knows. And I said, well, what's it called? And he goes, Mr. Right Now. I was like, okay. So he gives it to me the first time, and it was his version of it, and it was slow. It was
really,
yeah, it was slow. It wasn't like, I said, I see it, but I said, I like it. I said, but I hear it being upbeat. He goes, no, I need to stay in this pocket. and then I think Chris and Dave both chimed in and said, I agree with that. It needs to be, like a fun song. And that's where it came to life. It started coming to life. Then Junior playing on it, and
and Bob ultimately agreed, huh?
Yeah. So that was a takeoff. And I mean, I could go into detail about all the stuff that, we went through. And then came the QED documentary.
I remember.
The concert on QED, then they did a documentary about us. And, looking back, hindsight 2020, everything happened so fast.
Yeah, it had to be coming at you very fast.
I mean, I was 27 when I sang my first note, and then at 33, I was getting ready to sign a record deal.
Right.
Well,
everybody wants to know about how Ben Roethlisberger got involved in that video.
So
that was a phenomenon in Southwestern PA.
Okay, so let's back up just a little bit.
Sure.
We were turned down by Equity Music, which Mike Kraske he was from Pittsburgh. He come in and he goes, look, the singer's a little bit overweight, and
That's what they said.
This is what he said.
Wow.
It's
a harsh assessment.
It was, because we were big fish in a small pond.
Absolutely.
Up here.
Right. Absolutely.
So, and it wasn't just me; it was other things too.
Yeah.
But I took it to heart, and that's why I lost all that weight.
Sure.
And, but going forward, that's when we did the QED thing, and we were playing in Struthers, Ohio, at the place called Cellar, Eric Ryan's place over there, and this guy approached me in the parking lot. He introduced himself. He goes, "Hey, my name's Ken Cooper." He goes, "I own Rust Records." I was like, he goes, "I've been meaning to get out to hear you guys. I heard you guys are tearing stuff up." He was part of a big band out of Youngstown that made it on the rock side.
Okay.
He signed a publishing deal for $100,000. I Googled him right away. That at that time you could start doing that.
Yeah.
And so I find out who he was, and this guy seems to be a real deal. And then we introduced him to Bob, and Bob was managing us. So at one point Bob knew that he had to pass us off.
Yeah.
And
why was that? Because he just didn't want to.
Well,
he wanted. That was not where he wanted to go with his.
No, he just didn't know the right people.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
Everything changes down there so fast.
Yeah.
Even though he knew a lot of people, we got turned down by Sony. It was before this big record deal. Sony was here 4 times to see us.
Wow.
Clay Bradley, the head of A&R, Buddy Cannon, who's Kenny Chesney's producer. Buddy was a big friend of Bob's. I mean, they went through the music scene together.
Yeah.
And then they brought in Mark Wright the last time, which Mark Wright was the CEO of Sony.
Wow.
And long story short, he goes,
Did they tell you why they passed?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you.
All right. Just curious.
So we already knew this was an issue. There was a lot of headbutting going on stage between Chris and I, because he liked to have that spotlight.
You had 2 frontmen at that time, essentially. It seemed.
That's what it seemed.
It didn't seem that way to the audience. I'm going to give you my opinion.
Right.
But I guess, and from a band standpoint, you probably... There was
as a band standpoint, I was a singer. But that wasn't
fair enough.
case.
Fair enough. Fair enough, my friend.
There was a lot of headbutting going on. I felt like I was fighting for my job on stage all the time.
Right.
Because when it was my turn to connect with the audience to sing, you got this going around, bouncing around the back, not knowing who to look at, what to watch.
No cohesion.
Right. There's a time to shine for everybody to shine.
Sure.
Sure. So that's why we didn't get the deal. He saw that.
Really?
Mark Wright said, he goes, "I love it." I'm going to tell you what's going to happen right now. 6 months down the road, there's going to be this, because it's already going on right now. He goes, that guy doesn't know his place on stage, and the singer's fighting to do his job on stage.
Mm-hmm. Pretty prophetic, right?
And we had already knew this at this point. Mm-hmm. We'd already had discussions about it, you know, about toning down, and you know, Bob had already had discussions with him about toning down.
Right.
And
right.
you know, don't get me wrong, what he did on stage, energetic wise, it fit. You know, it
without
just.
a doubt.
But from a national standpoint, there's a reason why things work down there.
It's a formula.
There's a formula, you know, and they didn't see that formula. They wanted to see a certain formula, and so we moved on from that. But that opened a door for me in Nashville for writing. So 3 weeks later, I got a call from Clay Bradley, the head of Sony, or head A&R from Sony. He goes, "Hey, I'd like to see you. You mind pay for my flight to come down?" You know, I thought he was going to turn around and tell me, you know, "Hey, we changed our mind." You know,
sure.
He wanted me to explore the option of going out on my own and still having the band there. You know, and we work it out internally how we do it. And I said, "No, I don't want to do that." And, you know, and he goes, "Well, I am interested in you as a songwriter." He goes, "You wrote Fly, right?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "I think Fly is a huge song." And I said, "Okay." And he literally made 2 phone calls. He called Jody Williams, who is the president of BMI right now. Jody had his own publishing company. And he goes, "Hey, Jody," he goes, "I got a guy here from Pittsburgh," you know, told him the backstory and everything. We went up to see him. Sony, we ended up passing on him because I think there's some room for him to grow as a songwriter too. And do you have anybody you can schedule with? And tomorrow. I'm like, okay. So Jody goes, "Yeah, send him over." He goes, I'll hook him up with somebody.
All right.
So at that time, Jody had Liz Rose and Mark Narmore writing for him.
Okay.
And Eric Church. Eric was nobody then.
Wow.
But Liz Rose is the one who wrote everything with Taylor Swift.
Right.
You know,
right.
And other multiple artists. So went in to meet with Jody and talking. Great guy, you know. And his son, Driver Williams, is working the front desk. And a little info on that, Driver is Eric Church's guitar player.
Okay.
Yeah.
Small world, eh?
Yeah. So he brings in this guy, real Southern Alabama accent. And he goes, "You'll love Mark. Mark's a great guy, you know." And so we're sitting there, and I said, "What's some of the stuff what I know?" And he goes, "Yeah, you probably know Moon Over Georgia by Shenandoah." And I'm like, "Okay, that was our first #1 hit." I said, "Yeah, I know that." And he goes, "I also wrote Craig Morgan's new one, That's What I Love About Sundays." I'm like, okay.
Okay.
Now I'm nervous.
Just a little.
So we end up hitting it off, and fast forward a little bit, we wrote probably 15, 20 songs together.
Wow. How about that?
And it just, by one phone call, Clay Bradley introduced me to that realm.
Yeah.
That people
right
work years to get into that.
Sure.
That circle, you know, and then the next day, that same day, I wrote with Bart Allman, who wrote "I Got a Brand New Girlfriend," and he had just written "You can take the girl out of the honky tonk, but you can't take the honky tonk out of the girl" for Brooks and Dunn.
Yep.
So I'm in these 2 writes, like
you're sitting there kind of thinking, like, how'd I get here?
Yeah. I mean, it just happened like that, you know. So nothing changed. I went home, but now I was getting invited to come back to write with Mark, you know. Driver did set me up to write with Eric Church. Okay, and this is before Eric was even nobody. Okay,
Sure.
Anybody. I had to cancel.
You did?
Because we had gotten a job. So I was supposed to be in Nashville for 3 days.
Okay.
I had to leave because we ended up getting a job out of town.
Okay.
And I had to leave to go on the road and play.
Right.
And so I said, "Hey, driver, I need to reschedule that." And he goes, "Yeah, no problem. You know, it was no big deal. I mean, but looking back now, I'm like, I had canceled on Eric Church." Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah,
right?
you just never know. And it meant nothing back then.
Right.
You know.
Right.
And it means nothing now, but. You know, to this day, whenever I see Jody Williams, he still talks about that first time I sat in his office, and you know, just a great, genuine guy.
That's very cool. That's very cool.
And you know, his son Driver, I saw last time he played with Chesney when Eric played up here with Chesney. I'm walking down the hall and I hear someone yell my name, and it was Driver. And for those of you who don't know Driver's the one that looks like a heavy metal rocker. He's the one that's covered in tattoos and always has like the mohawk, or you know. And he was like that, but he always played metal, speed metal.
Right.
And then he ended up playing for him, and Eric became friends because Eric wrote for his dad.
Right.
And Eric Driver scheduled all the writing appointments for all those guys.
That's crazy.
And it's just funny how
you never know.
How things work out.
Never know.
And so I don't even know where to go from there. So going back to Ken Cooper, met Ken, and so Bob met with Ken. Bob goes, "Yeah, it seems pretty legit. You know, he has some pretty strong investor and stuff like that." And he'd already talked to Travis Tritt and Blackhawk, and was in the process of signing. They were the attorneys were working everything out.
Okay.
And so kind of knew it was legit, and that's when Bob said, you know, maybe we should bring another a co-manager in, you know, someone that's a little bit more connected. And that's where Frank Deleo comes in the picture.
Okay.
So for those of you who don't know who Frank Deleo is, that's Tookie off of Wayne's World.
Yeah.
And he was Michael Jackson's manager throughout all Michael's career.
Right.
You know,
right.
And so I had no idea he was from Ohio, from East Liverpool.
Small world.
Yeah. And so Frank took a real liking to me because I was Italian. You know, and Frank was his good friends are Joe Pesci and Robert De Niro. I mean, he's as New York is about as New York can get.
He's New York Italian.
Yeah. So he loved my name, you know, he loved all the guys, you know, but his favorite thing to do, and I used to call him on it all the time, he'd be like, "Abby," and he was only in our career about a year.
Okay.
But he'd be like, "Abby, you need to be, when you come off the stage, you need to go to the back of the bus, towel down, sit back there, let the other guys go out and do the meet and greet." And I said, "Frank," I can't do that.
Really? That was his advice?
Yeah, because he was so used to pampering Michael.
Sure. Yeah.
And I said, "Hey, I don't have a chimp you have to take care of." That's true, because that's what he was doing, taking care of his taking care of his monkey.
That's crazy.
And that's honest to God truth.
Oh my God.
And I said, "Frank," I said, "you don't have to, like."
You had no chimp.
Yeah.
Not that I'm aware of.
And I love, you know, Frank was awesome.
Wow,
you know,
man,
I went over and ate at his house a few times. You know.
Yeah.
He'd tell my mom and dad, you know, he invited my mom and dad over. And he loved Junior too. He loved all of us.
Yeah.
You know, but he really took a liking to me. And Junior and I'd go over his house and stand in the garage. And I mean, he had platinum album.
I bet.
You know, the big displays they have.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Thriller, like,
yeah.
Frank put that big Pepsi promotion together when Michael got burned.
Yeah. He almost lost his life.
Yeah. So we're in the garage and I'm just looking around. I'm like, I mean, they were like 6 to 8 deep, just stacked.
Yeah. Not even displayed.
The whole way
just
around
like
the garage.
There. Yeah.
And it wasn't a small garage.
Right.
You know, some of them were up on the wall. Bob Corbin.
Yeah.
Same thing. I went down his basement, laying up against the wall. There'd be like
in the big picture. This doesn't matter. I want to tell you this. This is my connection to Bob Corbin. For 60 seconds. He was in a band called Gravel in the 70s. My uncle played drums for them, Terry Bates.
Oh.
He lives 3 blocks from our studio here. He played, and that's how I met Bob and Dave Hanner when I was a kid. So I grew up in that environment. You know, so the world is so bizarre.
Yeah, it's small.
Yeah, so bizarre.
So back then, Pittsburgh seemed so big. Now it's so small.
Right,
you know?
exactly right.
And, you know, I'm standing there in this garage, and I'm looking, I'm like, it's intimidating.
Sure it is. Sure it is.
You know, I'm thinking to myself, well, I'm not going to do this for you, Frank. You're not going to have me.
You never know.
And so it was just, that was a whole whirlwind in itself, you know, with Frank.
Yeah.
And Frank got to the point where he just knew he didn't have the connections in the country realm,
right?
You know. And so in the meantime, Frank started talking to Sean Pennington. Frank and Bob started talking to Sean Pennington. Okay. And Sean was originally from Pittsburgh.
Right.
He was the band leader for Sarah Evans. Got into the management side of things. Wasn't doing music anymore. He was the lead guitar player and band leader for Sarah Evans for a couple of years. So at that time, he was managing Big and Rich. So he was the whole thing behind Big and Rich, and then, you know, the Music Mafia. And then his co-partner had Gretchen, who was the other big part of that. So we were turned down by them, and it was kind of disheartening because at this time we felt like the wheels were just spinning. You know, we're doing all this good up here, but
no traction.
No traction.
Nashville, right?
And so we kept on doing what we're doing, you know, and I think we sold over 60,000 CDs per se out of the back of our truck. I think we were upward of 75,000 CDs. Wow. You know,
and that's just locally.
That's just locally, tri-state area, you know, and so then Variety Attractions came into the picture, and they're like the biggest fair booking unit across the country. George Moffett gave Garth Brooks Alabama a start.
The name.
So George took us under his wing, and man, that started another whole whirlwind, you know, because then we started playing Virginia, we started playing Delaware, you know, Jersey, we were just playing Carolinas, you know,
you're basically on tour now.
This is where I had to make a decision. We had to make a decision about quitting jobs. And we did that. I was the last one to quit. I hung on as long as I could. And well, we did that. And Jeff and I were working at the same place. Actually, we worked for Pittsburgh Chemical, for a chemical company out of Pittsburgh. Pitt Chemical, it was called. And our boss was great. He's like, look, he goes, I know what you guys are doing. He said, it's great. And he goes, as long as your numbers are the same. And Jeff and I would just have to make phone calls.
Yeah, I get it.
Know,
I get it.
We were a popular band, so people were...
Sure.
Relationships are easy.
It helped.
Yeah, it helped. And it still helps to this day.
Sure it does. Sure it does.
And, but, you know, it was just a whirlwind when that started. So they had booked this at the Georgia State Fair to play in the Midway. 2 shows a day. Fair life is not what's cracked up to be.
I've heard that.
You know, but you do make new fans. And
yeah.
Well, that night, Big and Rich was playing in the arena. We were playing outside the arena in the Midway, and the arena was literally right behind us. It was hot. It was, you know, we played, I think, at 4 and 6, or no, I'm sorry, 5 and 7 we played in the Midway.
You weren't playing on a trailer bed, right? You had an actual stage.
It was a big stage, but there was a Motown act on each night before us.
Okay.
And it was just a weird transition. But we made it work. It was good. And the guys were great. We actually did a couple songs with them.
Okay, that's cool.
By the end of the week.
Oh, that's cool.
You know. And so Big and Rich was scheduled to play that Friday. And that day, Frank and Bob called us and said, hey, Big and Rich's opening act's bus broke down. and they want to know if you go in and play. I'm like, hell yeah.
Not that's twice.
So the fair board come over and say, hey, you know, this is what's going on. We'll pay extra money to go in and play. And, you know, you don't have to play your show here tonight. You can go out there. And I said, we said, yeah, of course. So we get in there, and you know, that was like a real big, because we were a featured opening act, you know, that night.
And the crowd had to be something bigger probably than you've experienced.
Oh, there was probably about
20.
No. It wasn't that big of an arena. I think there was like 5,000 people.
Okay.
It was good size.
Hell yeah.
You know, so we killed it. I mean, and I don't ever really say that a whole lot.
Sure.
But we had a good night vocally, and everything just meshed. Walking off stage, and I'll never forget, we were walking down the stage, and the guys holding the flashlight so we could see coming down the steps. And this Irish, very white, bald guy comes up, and younger guy, and says, "Hi, how you doing?" He goes, "You guys killed it." He goes, "Oh, by the way, I'm Sean Pennington."
Wow.
And I said, "Oh, you're the guy." Real sarcastic. I said, "Yeah, you just turned us down for a management deal 2 weeks ago." And he goes, "Well, that's going to change right now."
Awesome. So
And
that was it.
That
then.
was it.
Yeah,
that was the night.
So that's a moment.
That was another moment.
Right.
You know, there was key moments, you know, that stand out, you know, me personally. But that was a moment where, because a month later, we're at Fremont Street in Vegas, opening up for Gretchen Wilson at the ACM Awards.
Wow.
You know,
I remember that.
So it was a very key moment, you know, and we did red carpet walk. I mean, it was
Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
That had to be awesome.
it was. And we got voted. We made the top 10 best dressed band, the band best dressed list, and so yeah. I mean, there was a lot of great things.
Didn't suck.
No, not at all. But then that's when we signed with Kevin Neal. I mean, I golfed with Jason. Chris and I golfed with Jason Aldean.
Wow.
Right when he had Hicktown, we opened up for him in Ohio. Basically, they used us to draw the people there because we were drawing the people.
He was no one then. Yeah.
And he played Hicktown 2 or 3 times that night.
That's crazy.
You know,
What? It's all material.
yeah. He played covers, and he played, you know, that and a couple other new songs he had.
Wow.
And we golfed with him and Kevin that night over in Ohio. And
Wow.
you know, you just never know. Like,
It's awesome though.
You know,
awesome.
we did stuff with Luke Bryan before he was at, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, we did the Georgia Swamp Fair or Swamp Days. That was with Luke. And one of the coolest moments for me was I was a huge Dukes of Hazzard fan growing up. And we played Dukes of Hazzard Festival in Georgia.
Okay.
And so at this time, we'd already got our record deal with
Don't
Ross.
tell me John Schneider was there.
John Schneider opened up for us. So I didn't know it.
How awesome is that?
So
right?
listen, I didn't know it.
Wow.
I didn't know what was going on because we were there to open up for Van Zandt.
Right.
But John opened up before us.
Yeah.
So I'm on the bus. I'm in the back getting changed. And we had our radio rep with the Joe Carroll, who's a great guy from Ohio, from Cleveland.
Right.
And we're getting changed. And I come out, and Jeff's standing there, and Dave's standing there, and Bo Duke is sitting on the bus. Forget John Schneider, okay? He was Bo Duke to me. So
Bo Duke to me too.
I turned around to Jeff. I said, "Is Bo Duke sitting on our couch right now?" And he goes, "How about that?" I went over and shook his hand, and I said, "Dude," I said, "you are a huge, you know,
influence
growing up. You know,
Yeah.
There was a Friday night, man. I wasn't playing in front of that TV, Channel 2, you know,
Amen.
to watch Dukes of Hazzard. And
Amen.
what
And
a
by
great,
the way, so I don't know if I ever told you this. I probably didn't. Van Zandt came to my office at Boogie Street through Froggy when they came in, and all they were doing was talking about you guys. They remembered you guys and from Pittsburgh and the whole bit, and it was amazing to me.
I'll get to that, what those guys did for us.
Yeah, I mean, that was very cool.
So we were there to open up for them, but we didn't know that John Schneider was opening up in front of us.
Right.
And so I went out and watched the set. You know, what a great guy, gracious guy. Couldn't be any nicer. So Joe Carroll how he was on our bus was Joe Carroll, our radio rep. When Joe got into the business of radio repping, his first act was John Schneider.
Wow.
And John had a huge, I didn't know he had like a bunch of number ones.
Oh, yeah. He's got a huge catalog. Yeah.
And so he was telling stories about, and Joe Carroll's like Joe Pesci. He talks like Joe real fast and real, oh, you guys, he's just, every other word, fuck is his mouth.
Yeah, right.
So, it was just, that was a surreal moment for me. Then we're sitting on a bus and we're talking, we're having conversations and all that, and get a knock on the door and bus driver comes up and he's smiling. He looks at me and smiles. He goes, "Come on up." It's freaking Cooter.
Oh, you gotta be kidding me.
Ben Davenport. He goes, "Hey, John, we got to go over and do this meet and greet." And I was like,
"Oh, your child."
I'm like a little fanboy here.
Yeah, your child comes rushing back to you one night, right?
Like, Cooter's on the bus now.
Yeah.
I think I called him Cooter.
That's pretty cool. I'm sure he's used to it.
And he laughed. We all got a picture. It was
awesome.
It was awesome.
That's awesome.
Got to see the General Lee, and but so the Steelers were playing that night.
Okay.
And our direct TV wasn't working on the bus. I don't know if we were in a bad spot. We couldn't get a signal, but Van Zant, they were watching the game, and so we're standing outside their bus and we're looking. We can see the TV through the blind was cracked about this much, and we can see the TV because it's up on in the corner.
Yeah.
And we're all down there just huddled outside the bus, and finally, John, who do you call it, looks out and Johnny.
Johnny, yeah.
Yeah, Johnny looks out and he comes out and he goes, "Hey, man." I was like, "Dude, you're awesome." I was like, "I got to shake your hand." I said, I said, "This means a lot to us opening up for you guys." And he goes, "Oh, man." He goes, "No." He goes, I heard all about you guys." I'm like,
"Yeah.
Who the hell told you about us?"
That's what I was told.
And so he goes, "I know you guys are huge Steeler fans." And he goes, "I know you had Ben in your video." I'm like, "Okay." So he goes, "You guys want to watch the game?" He goes, "We'll just open up the curtain. You can." He goes, "We don't have enough room because we're traveling with the band." And all. He goes, "But I'll open up the curtain. You guys can watch the game. We'll open up the windows." So he lets us watch the game through the. Just gracious guy. I mean,
yeah.
And not only that, I mean, I remember when they came into Pittsburgh. Junior and I went to the show, and we were out in the crowd, and man, their songs are. I still listen to that album.
Oh,
to this
yeah.
day. It's one of my favorite album, CDs. And it's so weird to say that, but man, I can't believe they didn't go any further than what they. I don't know if they just didn't try. They didn't care. They probably don't care at this point.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
I think it was just a project for him and his brother
to do. Something to do.
Yeah, something to do, and you have 2 number ones out of it.
Absolutely right. Go figure.
But man, just what a great bunch of guys. And Danger did mention me before when they came into Pittsburgh. They mentioned.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I was on air with them with Danger because they brought me down the hallway from Boogie Street. Then we carried them back to Boogie Street. Mm-hmm. They walked back, and then it was just crazy. We were taking photos, and then the Povertyneck Hillbillies, and those guys are unbelievable. And they're from Pittsburgh, right? I'm like, yeah. He goes, yeah. I think Abby was in my office about a week ago, and he goes, they kept going on and on and on about you guys. And I don't remember the particular story about Atlanta or whatever it was, but I mean, loved you guys.
Yeah.
And they made a point to bring that up. I mean, that was pretty cool.
No,
that was pretty cool.
Great guys. I mean, the fact that they just even remember our name.
Look at the lineage of amazing rock and roll from those two guys. Different direction.
38 Special in the.
I mean, really, and Skinner, come on. And then his brother being, Ronnie, right? Crazy.
I mean, people argue it, but I think Johnny's just as good.
He's a little better.
Yeah,
I'll say it.
Okay,
and is that sacrilegious?
No,
I mean,
I do too. I agree. I think
I'm a rock and roller baby, and I'm telling you.
I think he's better too.
Yeah,
going back and listening to tracks with Ronnie,
and that's not disparaging.
Ronnie was the writer. He was right
for the band at that time.
Yeah,
but
there's
more.
To this day, I don't know how that
there's
guy.
not more dynamicism, dynamic weight nature.
Have you ever tried to chew gum and sing?
No, but he does.
Yeah.
I know.
It drove me.
He did it in the studio with Danger.
It was making my mouth water. Like watching him the first time I saw him at that Dukes of Hazzard festival.
Yeah.
It was making my mouth water. I was like, how the hell is he singing and chewing gum?
So a little side though, you know, and you're a guitar player. Ricky Medlock is in that Skinner band.
Yeah.
And he's like one of my faves, and he was actually with Blackfoot back when we were kids.
Yeah.
Remember Blackfoot?
Yeah. Yep.
It's the whole like amalgamation of like
Yeah.
greatness in that band.
Yeah.
Crazy.
No, and that's like I'm watching him. And then when he came to Pittsburgh, he did it again. I'm like, son of a bitch is chewing gum.
Oh yeah.
How the hell is he chewing gum and singing?
How did Ben get in that video though? How did that
okay.
happen?
So we got past that.
no, that I mean people want to hear that.
So let's go back to when we signed the deal.
Okay.
We signed the deal in 05, 06, somewhere around there.
All right. Fair enough.
Big signing at Froggy, and Froggy back then was a huge staple. Mm-hmm. You know, Frank Bell was a huge staple for us.
Love Frank. I'd love to get Frank on this show.
When we were first brought to Nashville through Rust Records, Frank, he didn't imply he
championed your music.
When we were introduced to CRS, which for those who don't know, CRS is Country Radio Seminar, where all the acts come, they talk to the radio guys, and you know, and then you do shows throughout the week, you know, for the radio guys.
Right.
He went to each one of our things and brought us on.
Wow.
And talked about the success we had as an independent, you know, this grassroots phenomenon, he called it. I'm using his words. And how it just exploded, and that Mr. Right Now was in the third and fourth quarter, it was most played song on Froggy Radio of 2006. And he said, look, he goes, I'm playing Chesney. He goes, I got these guys spending more than Tim McGraw and Kenny Chesney. And, you know, he goes, that's how much they tested, how well they tested in that market, you know? So this is our introduction to Nashville, you know, and he's going on, and we go on, we play and everything. And you're meeting everybody under the sun, you know, because everybody wants to know who you are, and
Sure.
you know, wants to know your story and everything. Another cool moment for us. So we played Red Star Tavern the one year. Clay Walker was in town that's when he was a spokesperson for MS.
Yeah.
And because he has MS, and he came to Red Star Tavern that night, which opened up another door for us. Jason Green was a songwriter that wrote with Clay a lot and had a lot to do with Clay.
Okay.
And Chris Cagle, both. And Jason goes, do you mind if Clay gets up and does one with you guys? He goes, he thinks you guys are awesome. He goes, he'd love to come up and play with you. I'm like, oh, yeah, okay.
Nah, you can't do that.
Clay Walker came out and sang a couple songs, and you know, we thought that was the coolest thing.
Sure.
You know, and then Jason exchanged numbers with me and everything, the songwriter, and I'll get to that in a minute. So one of the biggest bands that really stands out of being just champions of what they do. I mean, the Oak Ridge Boys.
Oh yeah, they're legendary.
We did a handful of shows with them, and they were so nice. Invited us to dinner with them. I mean, just called me up on stage to sing Elvira.
Wow, that had to be a highlight of your
which
career.
I wasn't there. We were already out by the bus. And one guy comes yelling out. He goes, dude, they were calling you to come up and sing.
You missed it?
It's like Joe Bonsall.
Man.
So Joe was the front man for.
That's crazy.
It's just they're all great guys, but he was really good.
Yeah.
When we got to Nashville CRS, so you're in this big room, and everybody has a big table that everybody comes. All the radio stations take turns coming to you, and they have your name on it. There was 2 notes on the table. One was from the Oak Ridge Boys. It said, "You finally made it to Nashville. Great job, guys. You guys are the best. The Oaks."
That's cool. That's very cool.
Another one was from Clay Walker, and it said, "So happy to see you guys finally got your turn." And he said, "It's your turn." He said, "It's your turn now." He said, "You guys is well deserved."
Yeah. God bless
Clay Walker, and I was like,
"That's
wow,
that's big."
Yeah,
that's big.
I mean, to be respected in that realm, is pretty big.
Sure.
So we didn't even make the video yet for Mr. Right Now. So this is going. I'm just touching base on the deal.
Yeah.
So what really turned heads in Nashville was we must have released Mr. Right Now 3 different times on a record because
that's what Wikipedia said.
Well, yeah. You just never could find because every time we grew, we had to re-release it because nationally nobody knew who we were, you know. So this was the final time. We had it at the Chevy Amphitheater down along the river, and we sold 5,700 tickets that night.
Wow.
At $35 a head. We sold 5,800 CDs that night.
That evening?
That evening. That put us at number 1 in the market for...
It would have to have.
I think for 3 months.
It had to have. Yeah, no question.
Not Chesney, not Toby Keith, not Tim McGraw.
Right.
That was one of Frank Bell's statements. You know, these guys were number 1 in CD sales in America in this market for 3 months, you know. Yeah. And that was like a shock value for us, too.
Sure.
But when we put that many asses in that place, that's when everybody in Nashville was like, okay, who are these guys?
Right.
You know, we were already turning heads because radio reps want to know who were these local guys taking the songs away from the artists, the spins away from artists, and so that's how that started. Then we get to the point we're going to do the video.
Because videos were still questionably even relevant anymore, right? I mean,
no, they were big.
They were even then. Okay,
remember it's 2006. That's when Carrie Underwood. Just coming off American Idol.
I get it. With, maybe with country genre, but I think other videos have kind of waned.
Yeah, MTV is kind of...
Yeah. Well, what is it anymore?
Yeah.
Right?
So, they started doing... Lark Watts was the video producer. And...
No, stop. How did they... So, did the producer come to you as the band and say, conceptually... What do you folks want to do? Or they come to you and say, hey, we see this happening based upon what...
Lark came to us with a storyline.
Okay.
So there was 3 guys they interviewed for the video.
Okay.
And they liked Lark's storyline the best.
Okay.
So he goes, how hard would it be to get Ben Roethlisberger in the video? I was like, he just won the freaking Super Bowl, so I doubt that's going to happen. It was either Bob or Ken Cooper. One of them called his agent, got a hold of his agent in California, Ryan. They got back to us 2 days. I'll never forget, we were in Nashville. We were in the Shoney's parking lot at the time, because that's not Shoney's anymore, right across from Tin Roof.
Right.
And we got the call and said, Ben agreed to be in the video. I was like, what video? Like, we don't even... So...
The conceptual video.
Yeah. So
that's great, though, man. That's great.
It all started with, okay, so we were going to, storyline was we were in this bar in Nashville, and I'm it has me hitting on, all the guys are at the bar, we're all talking to girls, but I'm hitting on this girl.
Yeah.
And then she gets mad and throws the drinks in my face, and then Ben walks away from her. Walks away with her.
Yeah.
You know, comes up and takes her.
Yeah.
And then Ben's in the accident. So we were supposed to shoot the video that Friday. He gets in the accident on Tuesday.
Unbelievable timing, huh?
So we're like, now what? So we're talking to Ryan, his agent, and he's like, you know, doctor says it's probably going to be a good 3-4 weeks recovery. And you know, I think we sent him a gift basket and everything, like just fruits and everything. You know, just, you know, just showing our condolences and everything. And I said, you know, let's just wait. There's no rush. I mean, what's the rush?
Right.
And everybody was agreeing and said, you know, that could be a huge asset for us. That, you know, obviously we want to take advantage of it because it was a good selling point. So we did. We waited, and Ben was actually pretty appreciative that we did that. You know, he felt honored
to wait for him. Yeah.
And that made he invited us down to his house to welcome us to the, you know, to get to know him and everything.
Sure.
Which was awesome.
Yeah, I bet.
Him and I hit it off. I mean, we played hoops. I was only doing music at that time. I was playing hoops every day.
Right.
I was at his house like all the time.
Just dunk on him, man.
No. He's actually he is a phenomenal basketball player.
Someone told me that.
I mean, the more you get in his face, the better he shoots.
I believe
it's crazy.
I believe it.
But this guy right here hit him in the face a week after his surgery. The week after he got out, that he got all of his stuff.
Ouch.
Yeah, we were playing basketball. Which he shouldn't have been playing basketball.
Yeah,
but I said,
he's a competitor, huh?
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's for his size. Like you look at him, he doesn't look, you know, agile or anything, but he is the biggest agile guy I've ever seen.
I bet.
You know, he's just good at everything he does. Like,
you
know, so I got, when he was up at the camp, my mom and dad lived 15 minutes from camp. He come over to dinner.
Wow.
To the house.
Wow.
You know, and the kids, and he was great with my son Gio.
Yeah, what a good story, man.
And great with my son Gio. Gave him a ball. Actually, we were at the practice. He goes, "Won't you bring Gio over?" And you know, and we're off the side waiting on the sidelines. He's talking to all the reporters. He goes, "Hey guys, just hold on a minute." He goes, grabs Gio, and goes out and tosses football.
That's a great story.
While the reporters are over there waiting.
That's a great story. Good. That's how it should be.
And you know, Ben gets a lot of bad rap from people. I don't have anything bad to say about him. You know, he was a 24-year-old kid who just won a Super Bowl.
I don't think he gets that much bad rap anymore. I think
no. But this is back in the day. Like
yeah.
You know, he was a 20. You got to remember, he was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I was 10 years older than him. You know, but he was great. I mean, as far as
the video was a smash. Did you? At what point did you feel that? Let's fast forward a little bit.
We got so much mileage out of that video.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like,
because
when did you realize
Ben
that,
being we weren't expecting. We were getting played on ESPN.
I know.
We were getting played on.
I remember.
I mean, all kind of sports media.
It crossed over. Yeah.
We literally, when we went to New York to do Fox and Friends, we were on Fox and Friends doing Mr. Right Now.
Yeah.
We went and did the Sirius and tour. You know, talking to all the.
Yeah.
We went and met with sports radio.
Yeah.
As well.
How cool is that?
You know, it was just weird. Like.
No, it's great. That's great.
It's great.
That's great.
And then, you know, the Steelers started using us as a halftime show. I think we did 3 halftime shows. We did when they went the pre-Super Bowl party the next year when they went to Super Bowl. We played. It was us and the Clarks. Yeah. We played for that.
Who, by the way, a good friend of yours is Scott Blasey.
Yeah,
Scott. You actually introduced me to Scott.
Yeah.
He's on Friday, by the way.
That's awesome.
He's here Friday. Yeah, I can't wait. This is a good week for me. You and him, it's a good week. That's a good week.
Scott is the most genuine guy you.
Yeah, it's a thrill for me to have both of you on the same week.
There's one guy that I love playing music with, that it's Scott.
Yeah. So we need to get both of you on the show down the line here.
Yeah, him and I, you know, because you had given us some Washburn.
Yeah, we absolutely.
He still plays his. Unfortunately, mine got stolen out of my car.
I did not know that. Oh, damn it! But it's funny. Danger had told me, because Danger kind of was the conduit between Scott and I. He says, "Hey, Scott's raving about this guitar that you gave him, and he's still using it." Yeah. So I can't wait to hear about that.
Yeah, no, Scott still uses, because
good stuff.
We played probably about over the years, probably about 40, 50 acoustic shows.
Yeah,
and Our voices just mesh
You
so
guys
well.
need to do that again.
Yeah, we were doing it at the Craft House on a monthly basis, and then they quit doing acoustic stuff. But yeah, I love playing with Scott, and he taught me a lot about harmony because I was never a harmony guy, you know. And he said, "Try it here," and you know, he would sing the harmony for me, and I'd get it, and then I'd do it when he's singing it. Just
Very
now
cool.
I can pick it out, you know.
Sure.
And but he was a big part that
Very
helped
cool.
me. He's the one that showed me how to do that.
Very cool.
But what a great guy! I mean, they've had so much success, you know. I always wanted to do a Povertyneck show and a Clark show together.
Yeah.
You know, because it was a crossover.
Slightly
Yeah.
different audiences, but when you look back at the history of Pittsburgh, let's just say from like '88 on, it's pretty much you guys and the Clarks.
Yeah.
And there's been some rap artists and so forth, which are not on my sphere. Nothing against them, not on my sphere. But when it comes to like guitar-based music, it's
Well, you can't forget Donnie Harris. I mean, Donnie's.
But Donnie's before that, though.
Yeah,
Would you
yeah,
say,
yeah.
Like, I'm saying '88 on.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I mean, like the
Yeah.
you know, the millennial plus era that they can
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah.
You guys,
Yeah.
right? I mean, so yeah, and Donnie. Oh, I hope to have him on as well too. What a little history he has.
Yeah.
Someone told me, you'll laugh about this little side. You know, Donnie Harris was in the. He sang on The Rapper. You know, I'm like, with what? I didn't even know that he sang on the song The Rapper. You know that old song.
Yeah.
The band, Jimmy Ross is in that band. What song? What band am I talking about here?
Oh my God!
I know here. This is embarrassing, right? But Jimmy Ross, Donnie Harris, and a couple other great guys from Beaver formed. What band was it? They sang The Rapper in '71, I think it was.
Yeah.
But I didn't know Donnie was in that band. That's how shallow my knowledge was of all that, right?
Donnie. He's
Right.
just-
I mean,
he's like an icon of Pittsburgh. You know, I just saw him not too long ago, and
oh, he is Pittsburgh.
I tapped him on the shoulder, and he turned around. Of course, he looked up at me because he's smaller than me. But he goes,
Most people are. Pal.
dude. He's like, he come up and give me a big hug, and he's just like, where the fuck you been?
Right.
I said, where the fuck you been?
Right.
You know, but he's such a great man. He's
He's the good guy. Good guy.
I try to do what others like, how Scott is with people, you know, how Donnie is with people, you know, how Bob was with people. Like, you learn by that.
Sure.
You know, if you're smart, you learn by that. You know, and some people don't learn by that.
No.
But I try to give back as much as I can. It's hard because I can't tell you how many messages a week we get. You know,
I bet.
Can you do a bet?
I bet.
And you feel bad, but
you guys do a lot of charity stuff.
we do.
You
We
do
work
a
with
lot.
It's About the Warrior a lot. You know, we do stuff with them. I do stuff with Children's Hospital. I've been doing it for the last 5 years.
Right.
That's a whole other story. It breaks my heart going in there. You know,
it's hard to go in there.
and sing for an hour at Christmas time. You know, an hour for me is nothing to give up.
Yeah.
Where those families are in there all month, 2 months, you know.
It's impossible for us to put ourselves in their shoes.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
Well, I took my son down with me to one of them. Unfortunately, he wasn't allowed to be in the same room. They come out into a big open area, but I had to put him in a different room because children are susceptible to other children.
Correct.
And I didn't know that. But I wanted him to see, look how good you have it, you know.
Perspective.
And you see what they're going through at Christmas time and think about what you go through.
Yeah.
You know?
And what I've always loved about you, and this is my show, so you know I'm breaking all the interview rules because we don't interview, we have a conversation on this show. You've been a friend of mine for a long time. We didn't see there's long periods of times we didn't see each other, but you were always extremely genuine and humble. And I always thought to myself, and I've told our mutual friend Danger this in conversation over and over again, I don't understand how he's had that much success, and still you meet him, and it's like the guy you want to go have a beer with. I mean, that to me shines through with you. And I think there's an element of that comes across when you actually perform. I think there's a genuineness there. And you know what? And I don't know Junior very well, but there's a laid-back, casual kind of like friendly nature of Junior, and it just works, man. And I've seen other acts that don't have that, and it's...
We got to remember, myself, Junior, and Jeff been together going on 16 years.
Yeah.
You know, and Scott said it best. Scott Blaze and I talked about this one night. They've been together 30 years. I said, how do you do it?
How's that possible?
How do you do it? And he goes, well, how long have you guys been together? And at that point, I think it was like 13 years. He goes, well, how'd you do it?
Same thing.
It's a lot of compromising because it is a band.
Sure.
Sure. But those guys are pretty good. They have a lot of because I handle most of the day, pretty much all the day, and songs. And they have faith in me, so I have faith in it.
Sure.
Those guys, like Jeff hasn't been playing. We'll just touch on Jeff real quick. He got hit in the face in April.
I read that
with a come along.
Yeah, a work-related thing, or was it?
No, he was cutting a tree down in his yard, and he didn't want it to fall in the street, so he had a come-along wire.
I'm more familiar with
and a ratchet strapped to it to keep it in the yard, and it snapped.
Wow.
And the 15-pound ratchet hit him in the face and crushed his orbital bone all around his eye, like 15 stitches. They were going to put a titanium plate, and they couldn't even do that because it was so damaged. They put this mesh in there, and then it eventually turns into a bone hardening substance. And the concussion was so bad that he was in the hospital 7 days, but he has his concussion test this week actually, and he's going to find out if he's able to come back yet or not.
Sure.
I'm going to say no, probably another 30 days.
Okay.
Maybe even 45. I don't know.
Yeah.
I hope that's not the case because he's such an intricate part of the show.
No question.
He's the harmony.
Yeah.
But we were fortunate. There's some good musicians in Pittsburgh. Matt Forte has been filling in for us and doing a great job. And you saw him the other night.
Oh yeah, excellent show. God, I can't get over that.
But Junior and I, you were saying about natural. We could each finish each other's sentences.
Right.
You know what I mean? We've just been doing it so long. It's just like anything. Scott knows when, Scott, Rob, and Chief still play acoustic shows together.
Yep.
That says a lot there.
No question.
It's not just about money. It's about comfort. It's about
friendship, right?
It's about friendship.
Yeah. And they were able to maintain that through all the ups and downs. And it would take you 12 hours probably to talk about all the intricacies, the up and downs. And
right.
And look, it's been well documented. You guys, the Povertyneck split in 2008.
Yeah.
But the great thing about it was the reasons are irrelevant. The reason you kept producing music because it was in you.
Right.
And thank goodness that you kept.
I tried quitting.
Let's talk about it then. It's just, and again, it's not. I want the people listening to know that there was a reason why the Hillbilly Way is here today.
Yeah.
So, what happened?
So in 2008, when we split in January, I left and went to Nashville for literally like a week and a half because there was reporters coming to my house.
Right.
There was people sending letters in the mail. They wanted exclusive interviews, and I just I want to do it.
Yeah.
I thought I should have stayed in the band, and some people chose to use it other ways and turn or twist it. For a long time, I was noted as one of the. I wanted to leave to start my solo career. No, that wasn't the case. I didn't want to do that. I was forced to do that. Right. I had to go. Right. I wasn't going to quit just because the band broke up.
That solo album is excellent, my friend.
Thank you. Well, the funny thing about that is a lot of those songs on there, I pitched to Povertyneck and were turned down.
Right.
And so I said, I love these songs. And going back to Mark Narmar.
Yeah.
Mark Narmar we wrote probably 7 of those songs out of those 10 or 11 songs. George Strait cut You Done Fallen in Love. And it was never given to me because it wasn't allowed to, but I thought that was the intent of writing that song. We actually wrote it for George Strait because the guy who I wrote it with, his niece lived 2 ranches down from George.
Okay.
So she hand delivered that demo
That's
to him.
That's a great story too.
And so I waited to put that on a record. I produced that. We produced that and everything. I waited till that record was done to give him that song because I wanted to make sure that it was a produced song when he got it. It wasn't just a scratch demo. And But yeah, you know that Froggy played 7 singles off that.
Mm-hmm.
And
I remember.
And they played them heavy. I mean, Promised Land they played 30 times a week, almost as much as it's right now.
I remember that show at the Roadhouse extremely well. I'm taking you back a bit, but it probably was it was the first show for your solo.
Yeah.
To basically introduce the solo album.
Right. Yep.
And you welcomed me up. We were throwing Boogie Street T-shirts out to the crowd.
Yep.
That was a great show. That was a great show. Never forget that.
What was funny about that was, so I went to Nashville. You know, those are all Nashville guy pickers that come out and played with me. You know, I was signed with Sean Pennington. Mm-hmm. Going back to Sean again. I mean, and I was signed. We did that record through Sean's company, and you know, he loved all the songs. He's like, "Why didn't you guys ever cut any of these?" And I said, "Well, we voted on, and it all got turned down."
Yeah.
And you know, turn around and Frog, hindsight 2020, and Froggy played all, like most of the songs that I wrote for the band.
Right.
You know.
Right.
And so that when I went to Nashville to rehearse with those guys, you know, I had sweatpants on, and you know. I didn't.
That's great. There,
I
right?
just
That's great.
stood there and sang. I didn't do it. Well, then they came up here and they weren't expect. So we're in the trailer getting changed and on the bus and everything, and they said, "Well, how many tickets are sold?" And I said, "I think there's like 800 something tickets sold." And they looked at me and they said, "Really?" I said,
"Packed that night."
Yeah, I said, "I know we were like 220 shy of the sellout," and then when we got out there, I turned into this other person, you know, moving around the stage and working the stage and everything. And
that was your stage.
They were shocked because I'll
I'll
never get that when I came back into the trailer. Sean pulled me aside and he goes, "Dude," he goes, "you just shocked the hell out of these guys because when you were at rehearsal, you were just standing there, you know, you weren't doing anything." I said, "Well, why would I?"
Yeah, and not a rehearsal, right?
Yeah,
right.
And then you went out there, and you know, I knew what you were going to do, and she goes, "You just gained a lot of respect from those guys."
That's good.
And so, so that
show.
felt good, but you know, it still, it wasn't the band.
Yeah, it wasn't the band. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I had seen you a little bit after that and saying I missed the band aspect.
Yeah, it's just. I think it's a comfort thing. We're doing it so long, you know, and by that time it was hard to brand just me.
Yeah.
You know, because I was still.
It's a great album, though.
Povertyneck.
It's a great album.
Thank you. And,
I like that album better than any Povertyneck record. Personally, I've always said that, which I know doesn't fly with a lot of people, but it does with me.
Yeah, I mean, but that's when the turning point was turning for music. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was more commercial. That record was way more commercial.
Oh, yeah. But it was good, though.
And
it was good.
And that
show
parlayed
was good.
Thank you.
And
that parlayed into Scott coming. So Scott and I had been trying to write forever.
Right.
And I called him, and he was living in Dallas at the time.
Yeah.
And I said, "Dude, I got this. I don't know. I got a verse, a chorus. I don't know what I have." I said, "But I think it's pretty catchy."
Yeah.
You know, he came. I lived in Smock at that time, and he came over to the house, and I started playing, and he goes, "I like that." And he goes, "Let me take it home and let me fool around with it a little bit." And then he sends me a song, like he finished it.
Yeah.
You know, I had written, you know, a bunch of it, and then he put his twist on it, and then we got together and tweaked a couple of things. And this song just turned into this, was a different realm for me, you know. And then he did this version with Rutowski. It was a straight rock version.
Yeah.
And that's when you know it's a good song, when you could take it and make it a rock song or a country song.
Crosses over easily.
And the funny thing is, I love his version and he loves my version.
Naturally.
You know, we drove down to Nashville and he did it was like one take for him. And he did this thing at the end at the end of Miracle Man where he goes, I can't even sing it where he sang it, but it was like, "I'll take your hand." It's like his Prince thing he did. and it was like crazy. Like he just did. He goes, I don't know why I did that. Sean goes, that was awesome.
Leave it.
and we stayed the night, got up next morning, drove home.
Yeah, it's the beauty of music, though.
Yeah,
I mean, that's it.
And
interpretation is. I mean, think about how many, one iconic song, and then there's like millions of, not millions, multitudes of bands that continue to replay it, and every twist is kind of okay. Some are like, some are great, but that's the beauty of music.
Yeah.
Right? It's that organic interpretation of one set of lyrics and one orchestration.
Yeah, definitely. I was proud of that record. I mean, more so because I wrote most of those songs on all but two.
Yeah.
I wrote on there.
Yeah.
And
so you guys had so it was rebooted, I remember, in 2012, because I was really confused. It was rebooted as a Povertyneck Hillbillies reunion show.
Well, what happened was, so I tried to get it back together.
I was there, by the way, and it was excellent. I loved every second of it. But it wasn't. It was really confusing, I think, to the fans too, as well.
It was
to some degree.
Well, so I reached out to Chris.
Mm-hmm.
I asked him to do the show. Mm-hmm. He declined. That right there, we did everything in our power to bridge that, and Danger helped with that. You know, to bridge.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, this is gonna be. Mm-hmm. He named each one of the guys are going to be there, and we still had a great turnout. We had 2,100.
Oh, I remember
21 or 2,200 people, and it was still an awesome show. And that
did that launch the Hillbilly Way?
Yes, that launched the Hillbilly Way.
TWH was formed that night, officially.
Yeah, THW was that night, but we didn't call it THW.
No, but the band, that band, the Hillbilly Way, whatever.
It was
absolutely.
everybody but Chris in the band.
Right.
It was Povertyneck back together, but Chris.
Right.
And I even asked Crafty to come back too.
Wow.
And so little by little, guys started falling off. Dave left. He was working 2 jobs. Ryan just got married and had another baby. Mm-hmm. Crafty was playing with Studio E a lot, and it was getting hard because he wouldn't be there at some of the shows.
Yeah.
A lot of songs were geared towards the steel, so we had to start moving away from that. And we went through 2 drummers, and then we found Keith.
Yeah.
And it's been us 4, and retroly looking back, it was meant to be this way. Mm-hmm. It's way easier. It's still hard. A band is still hard either way, because it's personalities.
Sure.
It's not one guy saying, "Hey, it's going to be this way."
Yeah.
We still vote
always
on things.
Compromise.
Yeah, always compromise. But Junior Jeff and I give Keith all the credit, because it had to be hard for him coming into that, because there's so many inside jokes between us 3. Do you know what I mean?
Of course.
And even Dawn,
of course,
even my fiance Dawn, she'd just be like, "Well, half the time nobody knows what you're talking about, because you guys are in your own little world."
Sure.
Yeah.
And
it's just so common for us, because that's all we know. That's all.
Yeah.
And so Keith now is in that.
Yeah, he's in.
He's in that
he's
mix.
in there now. He's in there. Yeah.
He's in that mix now.
He's in.
And so we were signed again with Sean, 2016. He saw us play somewhere. I forget where he saw us play, and he goes, "We need to work together again." I was like, "All right."
Sure.
It's just so natural with Sean. I mean, we've been friends.
Yeah.
And I like Sean because he doesn't blow smoke.
Right. Which is probably rare in this business.
It's so rare in that business. And and he'll tell you, he goes, it sucked about that much.
But there's a level of honesty there too you need. Yeah.
We came back with Best Night of Our Lives. He goes, I got a song. He goes, man, this is what sparked me to call you. He said, Thompson Square was playing me some of their catalog, and they sent over the rest that they didn't play me. And I'm listening, and this song came up. And he goes, I got to talk to Kiefer and see if I can, we can get it, without any publishing hassles.
Right.
And he goes, but dude, he goes, this is you. He goes, this is all you.
Yeah, he would know.
And Kiefer gave it. He's like, yeah. He said, most definitely. Because I give it to him. He gave it to me in it wasn't even like a minute and a half. Every guy was like, yes, yes, yes. You know, because it just gravitated. You know, it reached out and grabbed you at first.
It just worked.
And then we shot the video, and that was fun. And you know, we were drunk in that video. That was the whole goal of Sean's. He brought all this alcohol. I was like, what do you have all this alcohol? And he goes, because it's going to be a party. And he goes, if we want the song to match the video, it needs to be a party.
To be authentic, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And Vanessa Campagna was in the video. And her dancing debut.
Yeah.
And she'll tell you she doesn't like dancing. I always tell her, I said, you're not allowed to dance on stage. But
that's great.
Yeah,
that's great, man. Oh shit, man, that's great. That's great.
Yeah, I mean, it just, we've got to do a lot of great things. You just don't until you sit down like this, or you know, you talk with the guys.
Sure,
and
sure.
You know, I went back, but we sat and watched the documentary one night. You know, just like, man, I forgot about that. You know,
it's powerful though.
It's crazy.
You lived it. It's good
crazy.
to refresh that once in a while too, right? It's good to refresh it.
And I'm not gonna lie, we've had a lot of struggle getting this up off the ground.
Sure.
And finally, you know, I was introduced to Matt Thomas, who's the lead singer of Palmerly, through Sean, because Sean managed those guys with Thompson Square.
Yeah.
And Sean started putting us on some shows with them. And Matt and I had a lot of common. He fishes and all that. And I took my boat out to Ohio and we did a show together, and I, you know, fished with him, and I went to his house and started hanging out there, and you know, just little things. And he goes, "Hey, I got some songs." And that's how it starts, you know. And he sends me over like 6 songs, and they're all great songs. I'm like, why the hell do you cut these?
Yeah.
Thinking to myself. And that's where "Damn, I Just Want to Kiss You" came from.
Right. What a great song.
And so we decided to do, we're self-funded, you know.
Yeah.
And we decided to do a national campaign on it and launch it as THW.
Yeah.
And it ended up going to 47 on the secondary charts, the Music Row charts, which is still pretty big.
Yeah.
And we got a new one coming out May 31st called Lonely Girl.
Yeah.
Which is,
you gave a little tease on that video, by the way.
That's going to be the big one, I think.
Yeah.
And that, the record, so the lady Diane Ritchie, who promotes our music to all the radio stations, she's like the queen of the secondary Music Row stations. She only takes 2 independents a year, and she picked us as one of them.
Huh.
And so we were pretty excited about that. But this was her golden, she calls this the golden ticket, this song here. She said, I don't care, any girl that hears us gravitates towards it.
Well, the tease is pretty intoxicating. Yeah, it's not quite long enough. That's why they call it a tease. So.
Yeah. And
what's the release date for that?
May 31st.
Okay.
So that kind of, so I asked Matt, I said, and we recorded those in his basement. Yeah. In Matt's basement. He has a studio in his basement. And Tommy Cecil, who lived with Matt at the time, he wrote Home Alone for Luke Bryan. He wrote Jack and Diane for Jake Owen.
Wow.
And he's written, I don't know how many Palmerly songs. He's written a ton of songs.
Yeah.
He produced these 2 songs for us, and he was co-writer on both of these.
Okay. And
he's like, he's thanking me.
Wow.
He's thanking us. I was like, why are you thanking us? And he's like, because dude, these songs are these are great songs, and they're just sitting here.
That's good stuff.
You know,
that's good stuff.
And he goes, I'm so happy someone's putting it on. He goes, you killed him. He said, like he was actually like,
yeah.
He posts stuff about us on Instagram and everything, and say, hey, you know, these guys killed these songs. Go listen to them.
Right.
You know, and Matt too. I mean, Palmerly, those guys are great guys. Yeah. They have their own little clique too. You know, I mean, it's a band thing. Each band has their own little zone. You know.
Sure.
And once they opened up and got to know we were real, you know, they're like, you know, brother from another mother. You know?
Right.
So, but yeah, I mean,
Do you look back on it and, one of the, I keep making references when I have musical guests on here, but one of the most powerful things that was ever said to me about just life and then the music business, which I'm not really in, on the peripheral. I had a meeting with Paul Stanley one time, and the meeting turned to a long conversation. But in the end of that conversation, he looked at me and goes, the biggest thing that Gene and I ever did was not let two other people dictate what our futures were going to be. We believed in what we were doing so much that just because someone didn't want to be part of the train anymore or someone didn't want to belong to that anymore, that's fine. We were not going to stop doing what we loved because of someone else's wishes. And a lot of people probably don't know that.
I look at you
guys,
Kiss.
though, that's kind of like, right. But, I mean, I can see a similarity, right, in your story to a degree.
I mean, it's no secret. Chris and I didn't see eye to eye.
Sure. That happens. It's music.
That wasn't just me. That was the rest of the band too. Right. We didn't see eye to eye. Don't get me wrong. He did things that were great and good for the band. But where I thought music should go and where he thought it was two different places.
Right.
He thought it should be more of a carnival act kind of thing. Like a hee-haw kind of comedy show, where instead of a straightforward
like a radio-friendly band, right?
A national act kind of format. That's where we differed.
But you guys didn't want to stop. Just because, right, and so there's a tenacity is the great word. Just keep.
I tried to back off, saying it's in my blood.
That's good though. That's a good revelation on your behalf, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's just you're never going to stop it. I mean, it's always going to be there, whether I do acoustic shows or whether I play in the band. You know what I mean? The band is rough because you're making minimal money and you're doing a lot of work. Yeah,
it's always a big compromise too.
Yeah, you're there. People think you just show up and play an hour before a show, and that's not with that setup we have. I mean, that's we're there 4 hours, 5 hours before a show. And so now it's an 8-9 hour day. By the time you get home, it's 10 hours.
Right. On top of your regular life.
Right. So it's I wouldn't change a thing the way everything happened, but man, did it happen fast, and it happened. I never thought I'd still be doing it.
Really?
Trying to achieve. I never thought I'd be trying to achieve a success rate. Like we're releasing a song. I'm going to be 48 years old. But I didn't get there. We were almost there.
Yeah. Well,
the video for Mr. Right Now stayed on at GSC and CMT for 13 weeks straight at number 2.
I remember.
We couldn't kick Carrie Underwood out of there for the life of us. And, we were in People magazine that month. We were in Rolling Stone. Looking back, the accolades that we've acquired, and a lot of people don't know that, because it was Pittsburgh, and you didn't look outside of Pittsburgh, unless you really followed music.
Yeah, we're a little parochial here. Yeah,
and there were people that knew, but I mean, but social media wasn't an outlet for us back then.
Right, and that was where I want to bridge this. Had that been available from 2000 on,
I think things would have been different.
Very possible.
Yeah,
very possible.
It would have had a big factor because Facebook became prominent in probably 2009.
Yeah,
right. And if we had an outlet to tell people, hey, look at we're in People magazine this week. We're in Rolling Stone this week.
Right.
It would have been a different ball game.
Yeah, I believe that too. Is music disposable now? And what I mean by that is, we both know decades ago the bands would tour to support the record sales, hoping to break even on tour, maybe make a little more merch, maybe. But now touring and performing live is the only source of income. Am I right? Am I right?
Yeah, because we printed off 100 CDs last year. I think we sold 30.
Wow. So it is disposable.
Yeah. Because it's so accessible. They can get it online. Once you put it on Spotify and iTunes,
And the streaming services don't pay you guys anything.
Hardly
it's
nothing.
Shit, right? I mean,
the songwriters make the most of it, which, and
yeah, I get it.
They should, but you should still get a sale credit,
Sure.
for that stream.
Sure.
What you do, but it's pennies on the dollar.
There's an integrity issue too. I think.
Yeah.
I think that you never really know what's going
And look at Garth Brooks.
Mm-hmm.
You can't find shit of his on any of that. You can't.
He was in a position to withhold that.
Yeah.
Though, right. I mean, that's
you cannot. He's making you go by. Now he's doing vinyl.
Yeah. Well, those guys all had first mover advantage. Let's just face it. Had you been born a decade early, and all this had happened a decade earlier, totally different ball game. Probably. Yeah. It was just the timing of the whole thing. I mean,
he used television as his
no question
social media.
Right.
When he did the NBC specials.
Right.
Saturday night concert.
He was unique though. He crossed over. Like you guys have a lot of crossover in yours too, but that way he was the first.
Yeah.
I think in a big way that crossed over. And he was like the country version of Kiss. I mean, you go to his show, there's bombs going off, there's fire.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, it was just right. I mean, it was.
And we were talking like I was serious when I wanted you to call Paul Stanley today because I wanted to tell him what an influence he was as me.
Really,
as a
I'll
child,
make sure that gets to him.
As a child, like.
Yeah,
I can remember the roller coaster movie.
Oh yeah, 78 Phantom of the Park or something like that. Yeah.
Like I dressed up as Paul Stanley for like 3 or 4 years. Halloween.
Yeah.
Music was always there with me.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't know
that was your future.
That was my future.
Right.
I loved Kiss. I loved everything about them. Like Ace Frehley in the back of my Cadillac. New York Groove. Yeah.
Yeah, we probably had similar childhoods then. Yeah, a little older than you, but
to the left and to the right. I know that whole song. Yeah.
I just think life is funny how it all comes full circle. Yeah, I met you years ago because of music, because they ushered you down the. I had a guitar business, obviously Boogie Street. It was in the same building as Froggy Radio. And Danger goes, "Did you meet Abby yet?" I said, "No." That Povertyneck Hillbillies. He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "He's in the studio. Bring him down, please." And then you and I think, hosted, if you remember correctly, because you were always up there, but we hosted one of the Froggy Idol shows.
Yeah.
You were the good guy,
yeah.
and you were the kind guy, and I was the guy who was berating them pretty.
You were Simon. Yeah.
Those were good times, though, man. Those were very good times.
I mean,
too.
It's just funny how life, comes back around.
It does, man. It does.
A big part of the reason why THW, and I wouldn't say successful. I mean, we've had a lot of success with radio and everything.
Mm-hmm.
You don't burn bridges.
Yeah.
And that's probably the biggest thing why I was able to go and book. I still do all the booking, along with working with agents, but I still do all the booking. I make sure I go thank the people.
Right.
And I did that in Povertyneck too, and people remember that.
Mm-hmm.
You always go thank who booked you.
No question.
And I think that's one of the reasons why we were able to get work right away. I might not have been the guy booking that stuff back then, but I always made sure I went over and talked to them.
Yeah, that's how you treat somebody.
And you appreciated it, for doing what they did. But, and I'll be honest, there's people think I'm a dick.
Mm-hmm.
But they think I'm a dick because I know what I want. Like
But you're driven.
I'm driven.
Yeah.
And I don't stop until I get it. And it's just a quality that I have that.
Yeah.
Some people like it, some people don't.
You're not gonna please everybody.
I've come to learn that.
All right, so for THW, the release is on May 31st. Lonely Girl, is that right?
Yep.
And you guys, I was starting to look at. You've got a lot of shows booked, and there's more coming. I'm assuming, right?
There is. We're probably playing about 50, 60 shows this year. We've done about that in the last two years.
Okay.
And it's getting more and more. And one thing that we're going to do different with Lonely Girl that we should have done on Damn I Just Want to Kiss You.
Right.
It took Damn I Just Want to Kiss You took off like right out of the gate. It debuted at 196, then 2 weeks later it was at 72.
Yeah.
So business wise, I should have jumped on that right away. Those markets, but they were just so spread out.
Okay.
It didn't make sense to go play in Wisconsin.
Understood.
You know, now towards the end of it, the latter side of it, we were getting stations in Kentucky, Virginia. You know, now it made sense to go hit those markets.
Yeah.
So now they'll be more open to playing this song because they already played one.
Absolutely.
And now when they do start playing it, we're going to go jump in that market right away and help build that market. Now we have my goal is 4 places to get out of town. You know,
all right. That's an undertaking.
You know, it is, but I don't want people to take it the wrong way. I just don't want to play in Pittsburgh as much because you water down the market.
Absolutely.
And there's no demand to see you.
And there's only so many people to pull from.
Right. And I think that's what happened to Povertyneck. You know, Povertyneck, once we started going on the road, then we come back and do a show a month later.
Yeah.
There was a demand. We put 1,500 people in one room.
Wow.
Because there was a demand to see us.
Mm-hmm.
And I want that demand back, you know. And you're never going to get that kind of crowd in today because it's just not the same.
Well, yeah, people don't even, you know, it's hard to get people to pay $5 to go see live act anymore. Yeah. And that's maybe media. There's a lot of reasons. Probably there's so much media being brought to the home now, and everything's changed. The dynamics changed. But I will tell you, man, to wrap this up, I will tell you point blank, that show was a very powerful Friday night. And,
Thank you.
And I will tell you, I was. I mean, we had already talked. You know, you were already agreed to do the show prior to that. But it was good to see you. It's good to see Junior and the show. But I went home going.
You know, I'm glad I didn't watch any shows.
Wow.
Preempt this because I didn't want it. I wanted it to be this.
Yeah.
You know, a
conversation between two friends, right? And that's the nature. And you were able to share a good part of your story in a way that maybe has not been heard before.
Right. And, you know, I'm not here to knock anybody. I'm not here to, you know.
Not at all.
But I can't say when I bring Junior in here, it's going to be.
So I would love to have the both of you in. I will make sure.
We're going to.
And there's going to be acoustic guitars in your hand to some degree. We have plenty of great recording equipment here, so we'll put it out. But I want to thank you for coming in, buddy.
No, thank you.
It means a lot to me. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Happy Abbondanza, the Hillbilly Way, which is now known as THW and has been for a while. Playing everywhere.
We actually changed something too. So Google come out with a .band instead of .com.
Okay.
And we were one of the first ones to change. So we're THW.band now.
Okay.
To make it easy.
That's
to make it easy
much
to find.
Easier. And they're on Facebook. There's 20,000 plus followers on Facebook. I mean, You certainly carried the Povertyneck Hillbilly fan base with you.
Yeah.
There's no question about that.
There's still some out there straggling that don't know who we are. We're trying to reach those people.
All right. All right. Great episode. Thank you, my friend. And we'll have you in very soon. And bring your sidekick with you next time. We'll have some fun.
We will.
All right. Good deal. Thanks, all.